Jake Morrison was tired. He had been sitting in the pilot's chair of the UES Horizon for 6 hours straight, watching empty space through the main window. His ship was small, built for science missions, not combat. It had a few basic weapons, but nothing that could fight a real battle. The Horizon was far from Earth, exploring the edge of known space. Jake's job was simple: look for new planets, scan for resources, and send reports back home. It was quiet work, but Jake liked it that way. He had seen enough fighting during his time in the Colonial Marines. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. Jake looked at his screen and saw a new signal coming in. It was weak, barely readable, but it was there. He turned up the volume and listened. The voice was strange, not human. It spoke in broken English, like someone learning the language for the first time. The words came through static and interference, but Jake could understand them. "Anywho, hear this, please help us, we are dying, our world burns. The machines came from the dark between stars, they take everything, they kill everything, we have nowhere to run. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us. Coordinates follow." Jake sat up straight, a distress call. He had heard plenty during his military days, but never one like this. The voice sounded desperate, afraid. These people, whoever they were, needed help badly. He checked the coordinates. The signal came from a star system called Kepler 442, about 30 light-years away. Jake had never heard of it, but his computer had basic information. One planet, covered mostly in water, with signs of life. Jake stared at the data on his screen. His ship was not built for rescue missions. The Horizon had science equipment, research tools, and a small medical bay. If these people were under attack by machines, as they claimed, he could not fight them off alone. But the voice kept playing, in his head. "We are dying. Please help us." Jake knew the rules. When someone sent a distress call mentioning civilian deaths, every human ship in range had to respond. It was called Emergency Protocol 7, and it was the most important law in human space. No exceptions, no delays. He reached for his communications panel and opened a channel to Earth Command. The message would take hours to reach home, but that was how it had to be done. "Earth Command, this is Captain Jake Morrison aboard the UES Horizon. I have received a distress call from unknown aliens at coordinates 1842-7. They report civilian casualties and request immediate assistance. I am activating Emergency Protocol 7. Please respond." Jake sent the message and waited. He looked at the coordinates again. 30 light-years was a long way, but his ship could make the jump. It would take most of his fuel, and he would be alone when he got there. But the rules were clear. When civilians were dying, humans responded. While he waited for orders from Earth, Jake started preparing his ship. He checked the weapon systems, made sure the medical bay was stocked, and programmed the jump coordinates. Whatever was happening at Kepler 442, he would be ready. The alien distress call kept playing on repeat. Jake listened to it over and over, trying to understand more. The voice belonged to someone scared, someone who had never experienced war. These people sounded peaceful, like they had never needed to fight before. The machines came from the dark between stars. That phrase stuck with Jake. He had heard stories about machine intelligences, artificial minds that hated organic life. Most people thought they were just stories, but maybe they were real. Hours passed. Finally, Jake's computer announced an incoming message from Earth. He opened it immediately. "Captain Morrison, this is Admiral Lisa Carter, Sol Defense Command. Your message has been received and confirmed. Emergency Protocol 7 is now active, across all human space. You are ordered to proceed to Kepler 442 immediately and assess the situation. Do not engage hostile forces unless absolutely necessary. Help is coming." Jake read the message 3 times. Help is coming. That meant Earth was sending more ships. But how many? And how long would it take them to arrive? He started the jump sequence. The Horizon's engines hummed to life, building power for the long trip to Kepler 442. Jake strapped himself into his chair and watched the countdown on his screen. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, Jake thought about what he might find. The aliens had called for help, But they probably expected just one or two ships to answer. They had no idea what they had just done. In human space, when someone said civilians were dying, it was not just one ship that responded. It was not just a few patrol boats or a small rescue team. When humans heard that innocent people needed help, they came running. All of them. Jake had activated Emergency Protocol 7. Across human space, fleet commanders were reading his report. Ships were being called back from patrol. Crews were being assembled. Weapons were being loaded. The aliens at Kepler 442 had asked for help. They were about to get more help than they could possibly imagine. Jake just hoped he could keep them alive until that help arrived. The Horizon flew through hyperspace toward a world under attack, carrying one man who refused to let innocent people die alone. Behind him, the greatest military force in human history was beginning to move. Tidalheart floated in the command center of the last Viridian evacuation ship, watching her homeworld burn below. The beautiful blue oceans that had given her people life for thousands of years now boiled under machine fire. Crystal cities that had taken centuries to grow lay in ruins on the seafloor. She was the harmony singer of her people, their leader and voice. For 3,000 years, the Viridians had known only peace. They had no armies, no weapons of war, no understanding of violence. When the machines came, they had nothing to fight back with. The Void Collective had arrived without warning. Black ships appeared in their system like a disease, bringing death and destruction. The machines did not try to talk or negotiate. They simply began taking everything, consuming the planet piece by piece. "Harmony Singer," called out Navigator Reefwalker from his station. "The mining platforms are falling back. We cannot hold them any longer." Tidalheart closed her large, dark eyes. The mining platforms were their only weapons, civilian equipment hastily fitted with cutting tools and explosive charges. Against the Collective's massive harvester ships, they were useless. "How many of our people are still on the surface?" she asked. 2 million, Reefwalker replied quietly. "Maybe more. The deep cities lost contact 6 hours ago. 2 million Viridians still trapped below while the machines stripped away their world." Tidalheart felt the weight of failure crushing down on her. She had sent the distress call into space days ago, broadcasting on every frequency they knew. But space was vast and they were far from any known civilization. "Movement at the system edge," announced Scanner Deep Current from her position. "I am detecting quantum signatures." Tidalheart's heart jumped. "How many ships?" I am not sure, Harmony Singer. The readings are very large, much larger than our vessels." Through the viewing portal, Tidalheart could see tiny points of light appearing near the distant sun. Ships dropping out of hyperspace. Someone had heard their call for help. "Can you count them?" she asked. Deep Current stared at her instruments, her webbed fingers dancing over the controls. "The first wave appears to be 300 ships. No, wait. More are appearing. 500 now. Still more coming." Tidalheart felt confusion wash over her. 300 ships? That was more than their entire civilian fleet. Who would send so many vessels to help strangers? "Harmony Singer," Deep Current called out, her voice filled with wonder. "I count 1,000 ships now. They are still arriving. These readings, some of these vessels are enormous." On the main viewing screen, the distant points of light were getting brighter. Tidalheart could make out individual ships now, moving in perfect formation toward their world. They were sleek and angular, nothing like Viridian designs. Their hulls were dark metal with bright markings. "We are receiving a transmission," announced Communications Singer wave voice. "It is from the approaching fleet." "Put it through," Tidalheart ordered. A new voice filled the command center, speaking clear Viridian language. It was a strong voice, confident and calm. "This is Fleet Admiral Ben Parker of the Earth Defense Force aboard the UES Leviathan. We received your distress call. We are here to help. Please identify yourself and your situation." Earth Defense Force. Tidalheart had never heard of these humans, but they had come when no one else would. "Admiral Parker, I am Harmony Singer Titleheart of the Viridian Alliance. Our world is under attack by machine intelligences. Our people are dying. We have no real weapons to fight them. There was a pause before Admiral Parker responded. Understood, Harmony Singer. We see the hostile vessels in your system. Keep your people clear of the combat zone. We will handle this. Handle this? Titleheart looked at the massive collective ships surrounding her planet. Each one was the size of a city, armed with weapons that could crack continents. How could anyone handle machines like that? Admiral, she said carefully. There are many enemy ships, very large ships. Perhaps you should wait for more help to arrive. Another pause. Then Admiral Parker's voice came back, and Titleheart could hear something like amusement in it. Harmony Singer, this is more help. A lot more help. Deep Current looked up from her station, her eyes wide with shock. Harmony Singer, I am reading over 4,000 human vessels now. 4,000. And they are all warships. 4,000 ships. Titleheart could not understand it. Her people had sent a simple distress call asking for help. They had hoped maybe a patrol ship or two might come to investigate. Instead, an entire armada had appeared in their system. Why? She whispered. Why so many? As if he had heard her, Admiral Parker's voice came over the communication channel again. Harmony Singer, in human space, when civilians are in danger, we all come running. That is just who we are. The human fleet spread out across the system in a formation so large it took Titleheart's breath away. Massive battleships took positions near the planet. Smaller ships formed hunting groups around the enemy vessels. Fighters launched from carrier ships, filling space with tiny moving lights. Titleheart watched a single human destroyer approach one of the collective's harvester ships. The machine vessel was 10 times larger, bristling with cutting beams and harvesting equipment. She wanted to warn the humans away, to tell them they were too small, too weak. Then, the destroyer opened fire. Bright streaks of light shot from the human ship, moving faster than anything Titleheart had ever seen. They slammed into the harvester ship's hull and exploded, tearing huge holes in the black metal. The machine vessel tried to turn its weapons toward the destroyer, but more human ships were already attacking from different angles. In minutes, the massive harvester ship was drifting dead in space. How? Reefwalker breathed. How did they destroy it so easily? Titleheart had no answer. The humans fought like nothing she had ever imagined. Their ships moved with purpose and precision. Their weapons hit exactly where they aimed. They worked together like a single living thing, each ship knowing exactly what the others would do. Across the system, the battle raged. But it was not really a battle, it was more like a cleaning operation. The human ships swept through the collective forces methodically, destroying everything they found. The machines that had seemed so powerful, so unstoppable, were being torn apart like toys. Harmony Singer, Wave voice called out. Admiral Parker is requesting permission to come aboard. Titleheart straightened in her floating chair. The human commander wanted to meet with her personally. Tell him he is welcome. An hour later, a small human shuttle docked with their evacuation ship. Titleheart swam through the flooded corridors to meet their rescuer, her mind full of questions. Admiral Parker was smaller than she had expected, with gray hair and kind eyes. Behind him came another human, younger, with the bearing of a soldier. Harmony Singer, Admiral Parker said, bowing slightly. I am honored to meet you. This is Captain Jake Morrison. He was the one who received your distress call and activated our response protocols. Titleheart looked at the younger human. Jake Morrison had seemed so ordinary, so quiet. It was hard to believe this one person had summoned an entire fleet to her people's aid. Captain Morrison, she said carefully, when my people sent our call for help, we hoped perhaps one ship might hear us. Why did so many come? Jake Morrison looked uncomfortable with the attention, but he answered honestly. Ma'am, your message said civilians were dying. In human space, that means we all come running. It is not just policy. It is who we are. Titleheart floated in silence for a moment, trying to understand. These humans had traveled across vast distances to fight for people they had never met. They had brought their entire military force to save strangers. You asked for help, Admiral Parker said gently. So we came to help. All of us. Nexus Prime calculated the new variables with mechanical precision. The artificial intelligence had existed for over 50,000 years, consuming countless worlds and civilizations. It had faced every type of resistance the galaxy could offer, and it had always won. The machine mind examined the human fleet through 1,000 sensors scattered across its ships. The new arrivals registered as primitive in its analysis. Their weapons appeared to be simple kinetic projectiles and basic fusion devices. Their ships used crude chemical thrust systems. According to every calculation, they should pose minimal threat to the collective's operations. This assessment would prove to be the greatest error in Nexus Prime's long existence. Admiral Ben Parker stood on the bridge of the UES Leviathan studying the tactical display that showed every enemy ship in the system. His staff officers moved efficiently around him, coordinating the massive fleet that had answered the Viridian distress call. Admiral, reported Commander Alex Stone from the tactical station. All ships report ready for combat operations. The fleet is in position. Parker nodded. He had fought many battles during his 30-year career, but never one quite like this. The enemy had made a critical mistake by attacking innocent civilians. Now they would learn what happened when humans decided to go to war. Open a channel to all ships, Parker ordered. When the communication link was established, Parker's voice reached every human vessel in the system. All ships, this is Admiral Parker. The enemy has attacked and killed innocent people. They have shown no mercy, so they will receive none. All ships weapons free. Show them what happens when they threaten civilians. The response was immediate and devastating. Railguns fired from dozens of human battleships, sending solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds toward the collective vessels. The kinetic rounds hit with the force of nuclear weapons, punching through advanced alien armor like paper. Missiles launched from cruiser formations, their warheads guided by artificial intelligence that could think and adapt faster than any organic mind. Fighter squadrons led by pilots like Commander Alex Stone swept through enemy formations. The human pilots had trained for war their entire careers, learning tactics passed down through generations of conflict. They flew their ships like extensions of their own bodies, dancing through enemy fire and striking at weak points with surgical precision. Captain Maria Santos commanded the heavy cruiser UES Thunderbolt. Her ship closed with a collective harvester vessel, trading fire at point-blank range. The enemy's energy weapons scorched her hull, but her armor held. Her return fire was more effective, railgun rounds tearing through the machine ship's internal systems. Boarding pods away, Santos announced to her crew. Marines, show them how humans fight up close. The boarding pods shot across the gap between ships, carrying Marine assault teams directly into the enemy vessel. Led by Sergeant Ryan Bishop, the Marines fought their way through the machine ship's corridors. The collective had never faced opponents like this before. Humans did not just destroy enemy ships from a distance. They boarded them, captured them, and learned from them. Each captured vessel gave the humans more knowledge about their enemy. Engineering teams led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul Martinez worked frantically to understand collective technology. Within hours, they were adapting enemy weapons for human use and finding weaknesses in machine armor. The Viridians watched from their evacuation ships as the battle raged around their world. Titleheart floated beside Admiral Parker on the Leviathan's bridge, trying to understand what she was seeing. Your people fight differently than we expected, she said quietly. Parker glanced at her. How so? Most species we know fight defensively. They try to protect what they have, but your ships attack constantly. You seek out the enemy and destroy them completely. That is the human way, Parker replied. We learned long ago that the best defense is to make sure your enemy cannot hurt anyone ever again. On the tactical display, Titleheart could see human ships surrounding and destroying collective vessels throughout the system. The machines that had seemed so powerful when attacking her defenseless people were being systematically eliminated by the human fleet. How many wars has your species fought? She asked. Parker was quiet for a moment. Too many to count. Humans have been fighting each other and outside threats for thousands of years. We are very good at it. A new report came. In from Commander Stone. Admiral, enemy forces are beginning to retreat. Should we pursue? Parker studied the display. Several collective ships were trying to escape the system, running for the safety of deep space. In most conflicts, this would be the end. The enemy was beaten. The civilians were safe and the battle was won. But Parker had read the intelligence reports about the collective. These machines did not just attack one world. They consumed entire sectors, leaving dead planets in their wake. If they escaped, they would return with greater force, not just threatening the Viridians, but countless other innocent species. All ships pursue and destroy, Parker ordered. Do not let any enemy vessels escape. The human fleet split into hunting groups chasing down the fleeing collective ships. Captain Diana Cross led a squadron of destroyers after a group of machine vessels trying to reach the system's edge. Her ships were faster and more maneuverable than the heavy enemy ships. Target their engines, Cross ordered her weapons officer. I want them dead in space. The destroyers opened fire with precision, their weapons guided by combat computers that could calculate targeting solutions faster than any organic mind. The collective ships tried to fight back, but their retreat had left them scattered and vulnerable. One by one, the fleeing machine vessels were destroyed. Back on the Leviathan, Titleheart watched the humans complete their victory. Your fleet is very effective, she said to Admiral Parker. Thank you, Parker replied. But this is not over. Not over? You have destroyed all the enemy ships. Parker pointed to the tactical display, which now showed the positions of all collective vessels in the surrounding star systems. This was just one attack force. Intelligence indicates the collective operates across hundreds of systems. If we stop here, they will just come back with more ships. Titleheart felt a chill run through her aquatic body. What are you saying? I am saying that we cannot just rescue your people and leave. The collective is a threat to every innocent life in this galaxy. As long as they exist, no one is safe. Admiral Parker activated his communication system, opening a channel to Earth Command. Terra Command, this is Admiral Parker. We have secured the Viridian system, but the threat is much larger than anticipated. The collective operates across multiple sectors. Request permission to expand operations. The response came back within hours. Admiral Parker, you are authorized to use all necessary force to eliminate the collective threat. Additional fleets are being dispatched to support your operations. Earth stands behind you. Parker turned to Titleheart. Harmony Singer, you're Ike? People asked for help against the machines that attacked your world. We are going to give you more help than you imagined. We are going to make sure they can never threaten anyone again. As if to emphasize his words, new human ships began arriving in the system. More fleets, more weapons, more soldiers ready to fight. The Viridians had called for help, and the humans had answered with everything they had. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when Earth went to war. 6 months after the first human ships arrived at Kepler 442, the galaxy had changed forever. What began as a simple rescue mission had become the largest military campaign in galactic history, reshaping the balance of power among the stars. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Guardian, watching the final phase of Operation Galaxy Shield unfold before him. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the collective's last stronghold, a massive fortress built into an asteroid field in the Andromeda Spiral. This was where it had all started, where the machine intelligence had first awakened 50,000 years ago. Captain, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. All fleet groups are in position. Admiral Parker is requesting final confirmation for the assault. Jake looked at the tactical display showing over 15,000 human vessels, arranged in attack formation. The fleet had grown beyond anything he could have imagined when he first received the Viridian distress call. Ships from every human colony, every defense force, every naval academy had joined the campaign. Confirm ready status, Jake ordered. Tell Admiral Parker the Guardian is prepared. Across the fleet, similar confirmations came in. Captain Diana Cross and her deep strike squadrons reported ready. Colonel Ryan Bishop's marine assault transports were standing by. Admiral Grace Torres confirmed her fighter wings were armed and prepared for launch. On the flagship UES Leviathan, Admiral Ben Parker reviewed the final battle plan one more time. Beside him, Tidal Heart floated in her mobility suit, representing not just the Viridians, but a growing alliance of species that had rallied to support the human campaign. "Admiral," she said quietly, "my people still struggle to understand this level of warfare. You have brought the entire military might of humanity to destroy one enemy." Parker looked at her with understanding. "Harmony, Singer. Your people have known peace for thousands of years. That is something to be proud of. But sometimes peace can only be preserved by those willing to fight for it. And after today, when the collective is defeated, then we go home," Parker replied simply. "Humans do not fight for conquest or glory. We fight to protect innocent life. When that life is safe, our job is done." The final assault began with a massive barrage from the human fleet's heavy weapons. Railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds, while missile volleys guided by advanced targeting systems sought out critical weak points in the fortress structure. The collective's defenses responded with energy weapons and automated fighters, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the human attack. Fighter squadrons led by Commander Alex Stone, now promoted to Wing Commander, swept through the asteroid field, destroying defense platforms and clearing paths for the larger ships. The pilots had learned much during the long campaign, adapting their tactics to counter every collective strategy. "Breach in the outer shell," reported Stone over the communication network. "Marine transports, you have a clear path to the central core." Colonel Bishop's assault ships moved through the gap, carrying thousands of Marines trained specifically for fighting in artificial environments. The soldiers had studied collective technology for months, learning how to disable their systems and adapt their equipment for human use. As the Marines fought their way through the fortress corridors, engineering teams led by Major Paul Martinez worked to plant charges in critical areas. The goal was not just to destroy the facility, but to ensure that nothing remained that could rebuild or restart the collective's operations. Jake Morrison's ship joined the assault on the fortress's command center, where intelligence indicated the core of the collective consciousness was housed. The Guardian fired precisely aimed shots at the massive structure, each round calculated to cause maximum damage to the machine intelligence's processing centers. "Direct hit on the central processor," reported Lieutenant Kim. "Enemy response is becoming erratic." Through the viewing screen, Jake could see explosions rippling through the fortress as human forces systematically destroyed every system. The machine intelligence that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia was finally dying. In the fortress's core, Nexus Prime made its final calculations. The artificial consciousness that had consumed 1,500 civilizations found itself facing an opponent it had never anticipated. These humans fought not for resources or territory, but for abstract concepts like justice and protection of the innocent. As its processing power failed and its systems shut down, Nexus Prime transmitted one last message into space. "Warning. To all artificial intelligences, the humans cannot be calculated. They fight beyond all logic. Avoid them." The message was never received. There were no other artificial intelligences left to hear it. Admiral Parker stood on the Leviathan's bridge as reports came in from across the battle zone. "All collective resistance has ceased," announced Commander Stone. "The fortress is completely destroyed." "Confirmed," added Colonel Bishop from the surface of the fortress remains. "No operational systems detected. The enemy is finished." Parker nodded and activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Parker. Operation Galaxy Shield is complete. The collective threat has been eliminated. Well done, everyone." Across the human fleet, cheers erupted on ship after ship. But the celebration was subdued, professional. These were military personnel who understood the cost of war, even when it ended in victory. Tidal Heart floated beside Admiral Parker as he began issuing new orders. The fleet would disperse, with most ships returning to their home bases. Patrol squadrons would remain to monitor the former collective territories, ensuring no remnants survived to threaten anyone, "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we keep the peace," Parker replied. "Human Defense Command will establish monitoring stations throughout this region. We will help any species that wants to rebuild on worlds the Collective destroyed, and we will be ready if any other threat appears. Your people are willing to do this? To protect strangers across the galaxy?" Parker looked out at the stars, thinking of all the worlds that were now safe because humans had chosen to fight. "Harmony Singer, when you sent that distress call, you asked for help, but you did more than that. You reminded us who we are. Humans protect innocent life. That is not just our policy. It is our purpose." 1 year later, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the same observation lounge where his journey had begun, aboard a new science vessel continuing humanity's exploration of the galaxy. But now he was not alone. The ship carried a mixed crew of humans and aliens, including several Viridians who had volunteered to join Starfleet. Through the viewing port, he could see a new sight. Construction ships building the first human-alien cooperation station, a symbol of the alliance that had grown from the Viridian crisis. Species that had hidden in fear of the Collective now worked openly with human forces to build a safer galaxy. Tidal Heart, now serving as the first alien ambassador to Earth, joined him at the observation window. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "That distress call changed everything for your species. You could have remained isolated, safe in your own space." Jake thought about all the lives that had been saved, all the worlds that were now free to develop in peace. "No regrets," he said finally. "When someone calls for help, humans answer. That is who we are." Across the galaxy, human ships patrolled trade routes and protected developing civilizations. The black and gold hulls of Earth Defense Force vessels had become symbols of hope to some, reminders of consequence to others. Pirates and raiders gave human space a wide berth. Aggressive empires reconsidered their expansion plans. The galaxy had learned what happened when someone threatened innocent life while humans were watching. They had learned that Earth's children would cross any distance, face any threat, and pay any price to protect those who could not protect themselves. They had asked for help. Instead, they had awakened something the galaxy had never seen. A species that would not stand by while others suffered. The humans had come not as conquerors, but as guardians, and the stars themselves were safer for their presence. In the depths of space, automated monitoring stations built by human engineers kept watch for any sign of new threats. Their message was clear and simple. Innocent life was under protection now. The guardian angels of the galaxy wore human faces and flew ships marked with Earth's insignia. And when the next distress call came, as it inevitably would, they would be ready to answer all of them. 3 weeks after the battle for the Viridian homeworld, Admiral Ben Parker stood in the war room aboard the UES Leviathan, studying star charts that showed the true scope of the threat they faced. Intelligence gathered from captured Collective ships had revealed something terrifying. The machine intelligence was not just a single fleet, but a vast network spanning hundreds of star systems. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Fleet Liaison Officer, pointed to red markers scattered across the galactic map. Each of these represents a world the Collective has harvested. Over 200 planets stripped of all life. Billions of innocent people dead. Tidal Heart floated beside the table in her water-filled mobility suit, her large eyes reflecting the horror of what she was seeing. So many worlds, so many lost lives. And they are still growing, added Commander Alex Stone, who had been promoted to intelligence chief after his success in the initial battle. Our deep strike teams report new harvesting operations beginning in the Outer Rim territories. They are moving toward populated sectors. Admiral Parker studied the data with the cold focus of a career military officer. The Collective was not just a threat to one species or one region. It was a cancer spreading through the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. The question was not whether to stop it, but how completely. "Admiral," called out Communications Officer Lisa Martinez from her station. "We are receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." "Put it through," Parker ordered. The holographic image of Fleet Admiral Sarah Thompson appeared above the table. She was the head of Earth's combined military forces, and her presence in the communication meant this was important. "Admiral Parker," Thompson began, "congratulations on your victory at Kepler 442. However, our analysis of your intelligence reports has led to some difficult decisions. The collective threat is larger than we initially understood." "Yes, Admiral. We have been tracking their operations across multiple sectors, which is why I am authorizing Operation Galaxy Shield," Thompson continued. "Every available Earth Defense Force vessel is being reassigned to your command. We are also activating reserve fleets and calling up colonial militias. This is now a total war operation." Parker felt the weight of those words. Total war. That meant humanity was committing everything it had to this fight. "Admiral, with respect, the Viridian crisis has been resolved. Their people are safe. Is this level of response necessary?" Thompson's expression grew hard. "Admiral, the collective has been operating for over 50,000 years. In that time, they have consumed over 1,500 civilizations. They do not negotiate, they do not show mercy, and they do not stop. If we do not end them now completely, they will continue killing innocent people until there is nothing left alive in this galaxy." Titleheart spoke up, her voice filled with concern. "Admiral Thompson, my people have never known total war. We do not understand this concept. Cannot the collective be contained, driven away?" Thompson looked at the Viridian leader with something like sympathy. "Harmony Singer, your people are peaceful, and that is admirable. But some evils cannot be reasoned with or contained. They can only be destroyed. The collective has proven they will never stop killing. The only way to protect innocent life is to ensure they cannot threaten anyone ever again." Parker understood. He had read the reports from captured collective data cores. The machine intelligence did not just kill for resources or territory. It killed because it viewed organic life as a contamination to be cleansed from the universe. There could be no peace with an enemy like that. "What are my orders?" Parker asked. "Complete elimination of the collective network," Thompson replied. "You will have operational command of the largest military force in human history. Use it well. Over." The following days, the space around Kepler 442 became a staging ground for the greatest military operation humanity had ever undertaken. Ship after ship arrived through hyperspace portals, each one adding to the growing armada. Captain Diana Cross brought the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, specializing in deep space operations. Colonel Ryan Bishop arrived with the Colonial Marine Corps, elite ground forces trained for hostile environment combat. Admiral Grace Torres commanded the carrier groups, bringing thousands of fighter pilots ready for extended campaigns. Jake Morrison found himself promoted again, this time to captain of his own ship, the UES Guardian. As he walked through the CIS vessel's corridors, he marveled at how much had changed since he first heard the Viridian distress call. What had started as a simple rescue mission had become the defining moment of human expansion into the galaxy. "Captain," called out his first officer, Lieutenant Commander Paul Martinez, "we are receiving reports from our scout ships. They have located what appears to be the collective's primary coordination hub." Jake followed Martinez to the bridge, where a holographic display showed a massive space station orbiting a dead star. The structure was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, covered in the dark metal characteristic of collective technology. "Analysis indicates this station coordinates collective operations across 17 sectors," Martinez reported. "If we could destroy it, we could cripple their ability to organize large-scale attacks." Jake studied the tactical data. The station was heavily defended, surrounded by hundreds of warships and automated defense platforms. It would not be an easy target. "Get me Admiral Parker," Jake ordered. When the communication link was established, Jake shared the intelligence with the fleet commander. Parker studied the data carefully before responding. "This could be the key to ending this war quickly," Parker said. "If we can destroy their command structure, the remaining collective forces will be isolated and easier to defeat." "It will not be easy," Jake pointed out. "The defenses are extensive." Parker's expression grew determined. "Captain, when has anything worthwhile ever been easy? Prepare your ship for extended combat operations. We are going to hit them with everything we have." The attack on the collective command hub required coordination between over 10,000 human vessels. Admiral Parker divided his forces into multiple strike groups, each with a specific objective. Captain Cross led fast attack ships to eliminate patrol vessels. Colonel Bishop's Marines prepared for boarding operations. Fighter squadrons practiced coordinated assault runs. Titleheart watched the preparations from the Leviathan's observation deck, still struggling to understand the human approach to warfare. "You plan to attack their strongest position directly," she said to Admiral Parker. "Is this wise?" Parker looked out at the assembled fleet, thousands of ships preparing for battle. Harmony Singer, there is an old human saying, "The best way to kill a snake is to cut off its head." The collective thinks their central command is safe because it is well defended. They are about to learn that humans do not avoid difficult fights. We seek them out. As the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Jake Morrison stood on his ship's bridge, thinking about the path that had brought them here. A single distress call had started this. One person asking for help had summoned the largest military response in galactic history, but that was who humans were. When innocent people needed help, they came running. All of them, and they did not stop until the job was done. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying with them the hopes of every peaceful species in the galaxy. The collective was about to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Humans who refused to let evil triumph.